The next item on the agenda is 11-48, authorize town administrator to enter into a fire/EMS dispatch agreement with the town of Londonderry.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Maybe we can table this. It was in the newspaper, I think today or yesterday. They're tabling it until July 18th, maybe?
Well, I think there's two ways we can look at this, and we can certainly have that discussion before we go forward.
Okay.
I think that the one way is this is definitely we can look at approving or talking tonight about the dispatch agreement, and then we're obviously going to have to wait for Londonderry to approve it before it get executed and things of that nature. But I don't think that. I think it sends all the right message for the Derry community and the safety of the residents for us to move forward. And I don't think, at this point, I don't think what Londonderry does matters. It will matter in order to get it executed, but for us to approve this as a contract, I think sends the right message to Londonderry. It says we would like you to do this. We think it's good for public safety. We think it's good for our citizens and your citizens, and we're full steam ahead, and we're behind this 100%.
I just didn't know how much money, or excuse me, how much time John would have to expend on it if they're not sure they're going to go forward.
Okay.
But if most of the legwork has been done, and this is just a finalization, brought before us, then I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is everyone else okay
just
with
didn't
that?
want to waste his time.
Yeah. I think there's two different issues. There's the issue of this,
Yep.
and then there's the issue of the budget side, which is a different issue.
Okay.
So if we could just focus on the contract, that
Because you're
would
talking about the income side of it.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. And there's concerns there. But this, I think, by doing this, I think it just from all of us sitting here and the town, we're saying we're ready for you. Sign on, come on board, and we'll help you with the dispatch, and we'll do it better than what's been done in the past. Yes.
I think you're right. There's two sides to the contract, so we need to pass ours at some point in time. Londonderry needs to deal with ours. We might as well get ours out of the way.
Well, I think for the
go forward.
people in Londonderry that are looking or watching or going to read about this, they're like, well, Derry fully supports this. This
Right.
definitely, as far as public safety, there's two dispatchers, not one dispatcher. I mean, there's some real advantages to this, and there's some advantages as far as achieving the goals that the council set with regionalization of services and where this takes us. So this is a step in the right direction.
Right.
So,
Agreed.
So if everyone's okay, we're okay. Well, then we will turn this over to Chief.
Good evening, and thank you. And thank you for taking this up this evening. George Klauber, Fire Chief, Town of Derry. I have with me John Goldman, who's our Director of Communications and Technology, and helped an awful lot with putting this together. You've seen John here before, with some very successful contracts we did with the 4 other communities that we dispatched for earlier this year. As you know, the Town of Derry has been providing dispatch services to fire departments in Hampstead, Auburn, Chester, and Wyndham for over the past 15 years. How that works is that we receive information from Concord through E911, the state service where all the 911 calls are answered, and then we dispatch the appropriate resources from those departments and then monitor the radio responses that are out there and communications at the scene. The town of Derry and Londonderry have a lot in common. We are very similar types of communities. We provide very similar levels and types of service in regards to fire and ambulance services. We both agreed in sitting down and talking with both John Anderson and with Dave Caron and with the chief in their department that there would be an opportunity if we were to enter into this agreement for efficiencies and some which equates to some dollar savings across the board for everybody and increase our effectiveness. One of the things that we've just heard a little bit is about the safety aspect of it. It's important to note that currently in Derry, and I speak mostly to the Derry and not to the Londonderry, but in Derry, that only about 65% of the time do we ever have an opportunity to have 2 dispatchers on duty, and that's an overlap situation as the schedules are put together. And I've never believed since I've been here that it's a very efficient way to do business, and it's certainly not a very safe way. A dispatcher could be left in that building alone, become ill, have an emergency, collapse, God forbid. and not have anybody there. So having 2 dispatchers on just for their own safety and for the safety of the people who are on the street are important and have always been important to us. This is finally an opportunity for us with the funds we'll be able to receive in this contract to do that. And the same holds true in Londonderry. They operate much the same way with only 1 person on duty. So that was a primary goal that I had. The other was the goal that the council had was to try to find revenue sources outside of just through taxation. And had been very successful. As I said, John was very successful, and kudos to him in renegotiating the contracts at a 10% increase for the communities around us. So we took this opportunity to go forward with Londonderry. The fiscal impact in this from the contract, if I may, is $235,000 for dispatch services and an additional $110,800 for the initial startup costs. Thus totaling in year 1, $345,800. In subsequent years, there'll be an annual increase if they accept this as a 5-year contract of 5% for dispatch services, plus an additional was negotiated into this of $5,000 in the contract each year to be put aside for capital reserve funds for the replacement and upgrades of the dispatch equipment. Also, if once this is approved by both parties, there'll be an additional $57,900 based on the current ordinance that was passed here that will allow us to charge for the radio alarm boxes that are located in Londonderry. We do that currently now in Hampstead. We don't do it to any of the businesses in Derry, but we do to the outside businesses for the towns we monitored for. So there'd be additional revenue there. Revenue is estimated, therefore, at $300 annually, and they have 193 of those. And as they expand, there'll be additional revenues. So totally, I think this is a good. It's good for the fire department and fire service and the safety of our members. I think it's good for the town of Derry. If there's multiple calls going on, whether it be now in Derry, Windham, Londonderry, or any of the towns, we'll have a second person there. And I believe that even with adding additional staff, which we will do within the contract, there's still a net positive revenue to the town of Derry. So we see this as a win-win, and if there's any questions, and if they're technical, I will certainly pass them on to John.
Questions for the chief?
I just have one, because I'm a little confused. Londonderry is still going to keep a dispatcher, though. Is that not correct?
They will not. They will not. All of their dispatch services will be moved over here.
Okay.
There's something to that, David.
That's what I read.
Is that where you read it? In the,
I read that Londonderry was.
I think what you were talking about was the police, the fire administration services that are provided during the daytime.
Okay.
The additional staff at the fire department, not a dispatcher.
Okay.
All right. There was something that the paper
An
had
administration, yeah, they had an administration person from 7:30 to 3:30.
Okay, and then
that
the door
would still
be closed or
That was
something
it then.
after.
That's
right.
fine, because I thought it was duplication, and I couldn't figure out what the advantage was. But that's the only question I had.
Other questions? The revenue for the call boxes,
Yes.
is that in these numbers, or is that a different number?
It is not. It is not in the contract. We added it in there just as a fact, because we will not charge when we do that. We currently don't charge the communities that we. For example, in Hampstead, we send them directly to the property owners. Part of the contract that you'll read through that with Londonderry is a requirement of that is that they will in the initial year notify those individual occupancies, the 193 occupancies, that they will be receiving a bill from the town of Londonderry based on an ordinance. So the first time they hear from Derry won't be from Derry, it will be from Londonderry as part of their contract.
Okay.
And from that point on, working with finance, much as what we do with Hampstead now, we'll be sending out an annual bill to them.
Okay. Questions? Other questions?
I just, I guess really more of a statement is just, I mean, this fits with, direction this council is given in terms of looking for creative ways, to generate revenue. And I think it's a win-win for both communities, myself.
If we have no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the town council authorize the town administrator to enter into the intermunicipal agreement for dispatch services with the town of Londonderry, New Hampshire for fiscal years FY12 through FY16 inclusive.
I'll second that.
Discussion on that motion? With no discussion, we'll move to a vote. Council Fairbanks?
Yes.
Council Chericello?
Yes.
Council Mills?
Yes.
Council Ulbrich?
Yes.
Council Weatherby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
We thank you.
Thank you very much. Good job. 11-49, approve receipt and expense